Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa-salatu wa-salam ala ashrafil mursaleen. In this episode, I will be discussing the birth of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam up until to the point where he gets married to Khadija bint Khuwailid. So let's get into it. Before the birth of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was an incident where an elephant or an army of Abyssinians tried to come and destroy the Kaaba under the command of a man named Abraha. And basically they wanted the elephant to come and demolish the Kaaba, but Allah made it so that the elephant would not move forward. And it was the intention of this Abraha to redirect pilgrims after destroying the Kaaba to the newly built Yemeni Kaaba, which was under Abyssinian control. So Allah sent some birds with stones, birds that released these stones on soldiers and completely destroyed the army. And this was seen as a sign of the coming of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Prophet's parents were Amina of Abdulmanaf, Qurashi, the Quraysh tribe, and his father was also a Qurashi, the son of Abdulmutallib, actually the chief of the Quraysh, and the father's name was Abdullah. Now Abdullah passed away before the Prophet's birth. Abdullah was 25 at the time. He was sent on a business trip. He fell ill and passed away in Medina. He left a pregnant widow without much belongings. Now the lineage of the Prophet Muhammad actually goes way back to Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him. Now Prophet Abraham had two sons. You had Isaac or Ishaq on one side, and on the other side you had Ismail or Ishmael. Now on Isaac's side you had most of the Jewish prophets coming from that progeny. You had, for example, Moses, Jacob, Joseph. But on Ishmael's side there was only the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when the Prophet was given birth to, his mom narrates that there was a light that came out of her. Shortly after that, Abdulmutallib, the grandfather, the chief, comes in, takes Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, takes him to the Kaaba and prays to Allah. And it was him, Abdulmutallib, that named the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad meaning the praiseworthy one or the praised one. So as was customary for people of that time is they would send their newly born children to rural areas so that they could grow in a healthy environment away from the hustle and bustle of town centers in areas like Mecca. And they basically did that also to help their children by, giving them the benefit of learning from the good manners of the Bedouin people. So it was the luck of one Halima bin Sa'adiyah from Bani Sa'ad to be the one that got to breastfeed this baby, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She was hesitant at first to take this baby because it's an orphan. Where is she going to get the money from? But alas, she took it and she noticed many, many good fortunes coming into her life because of this baby. For example, when she was coming to the Kaaba looking for a baby to breastfeed, her mule was almost lame. She came with a camel that wasn't giving milk. She came from Bani Sa'ad, which was struck by a famine and a drought at the time. But when the Prophet was with her, the mule became sturdy. The camel started to give milk. The land of Bani Sa'ad had rains come to it and lush pastures grew and the animals could graze. And it was for this reason that Halima bin Sa'adiyah went back to the Prophet's family and asked, look, let me keep this baby longer. She wanted to benefit more from this, good fortune. They let her do that until he turned 4 or 5 years old, whereupon an angel, the angel Jibreel, came to the Prophet while the Prophet was playing with little children his age. And Jibreel took the Prophet, split his chest, took his heart out, cleaned a black blood clot with zam-zam water, and said, this is the part of Satan in you. And then he reassembled the Prophet. The other children ran to Halima and said, Muhammad has been killed. She comes out, she finds him alive, but the thing left a mark on his chest and it stayed until late. So obviously Halima gets scared. She takes the Prophet back to his family. The Prophet gets reunited with his mother. His mother then decides that she wants to go visit his deceased father's grave in Medina. So they arrange a trip. Abdulmutallib, the chief of Quraysh, the grandfather, also comes along. And they also take along with them a servant. The mother unfortunately falls ill in that trip and passes away in Medina Munawwara as the Prophet was 6 years old. And so he went into the custody of his loving grandfather who loved him very, very dearly. So being the chief, Abdulmutallib had the seat under the shade of the Kaaba where only he could sit as the leader. But the Prophet would sometimes come and sit on this, and when people tried to move the Prophet from the seat, Abdulmutallib would stop them and say, verily this child is destined for a very great position. And when the Prophet turned 8 years old, Abdulmutallib also passed away. And so he went into the custody of his uncle, Abu Talib, who was the direct brother of his father. Abu Talib is also the father of his cousin, Ali. So Abu Talib also loved them very dearly, and in fact he made the Prophet the litmus test on how he dealt with people. So if you treated the Prophet well, Abu Talib will treat you well. If you mistreated the Prophet, Abu Talib wouldn't like you. And it was narrated that one time the people of Quraysh came to Abu Talib, since he was now the leader of Quraysh, and asked him to pray for rain, since it was a time of drought in the Kaaba. So it was narrated that he grabbed a beautiful child that was as beautiful as the sun, and he took this child to the Kaaba. And above this child's head was a black cloud following him, until they reached the Kaaba and they started to pray. And more clouds started to surround this black cloud, and it started to rain. And subhanAllah, that beautiful child was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the Prophet turned 12 years old, Abu Talib took him along to a business trip to Syria. And before they arrived in Syria, when they were in the outskirts of the country, they happened upon a Christian monk by the name of Bahira. This monk noticed the Prophet as a prophet, and he said, "Look, this child has the seal of prophethood on his shoulder. We have this in our books." As you people were coming, the stones and trees were prostrating to this child. They do not do that unless if it's a prophet. And so he warned Abu Talib, "Look, do not let this child go to Syria with you. If the Jews find out about him there, they might murder him." So Abu Talib sent the Prophet back to the Kaaba with the servants. Now, as a young man, the Prophet had some of the best characteristics, the best social attributes, the best manners, the highest intelligence. You know, he had this observant, silent, meditative characteristic to him. He was nicknamed Elamin, which meant the trustworthy one, because everybody trusted him, and he was known to never break a covenant. He was very well-mannered and very mildly tempered. He worked as a shepherd up until he was hired by Khadija bint Khuwailid, who sent him on a business trip to Syria and sent along with him her servant. And upon their return from this business trip, she noticed that the profits of this business trip were way higher than what she expected. And her servant had nothing but praises for the Prophet ﷺ. And so she developed a desire to marry the Prophet. She sent one of her friends to go and propose to the Prophet, and the Prophet accepted. And when he was 25 and she was 40 years old, they got married. Now mind you, Khadija was one of the most desirable women of the time. She was one of the noblest women, one of the wisest, and also one of the wealthiest women of her time. Many men had tried to come and actually propose to her, but she had rejected them. And we'll leave it at that for today, and Assalamu alaikum.